The chosen one. This message did not find you by chance. God sent you here on purpose. This is more than just video or material. It is a divine appointment. A wonderful reminder that all you've gone through was worthwhile. It was witness to all you endured. Every quiet struggle you fought helped prepare you for this moment of enlightenment. You may not perceive yourself in the same way that heaven does, but allow this reality to sink in. Your life is a live, breathing answer to the world's question, is God real? While others look for signs in the sky, God points to you. While naysayers question, heaven whispers your name. You are proof that God still communicates, heals, and selects. You did not survive by luck. Your tale has more power than you realize because it doesn't merely inspire. It replies. Now, let us break this down into 7 heavenly chapters so you may completely understand how your life verifies what many people refuse to believe. God is not only real, but He is still active through you. Before we continue, please like, share, and subscribe. Because this isn't just any video. It's heavenly affirmation that you're the evidence. The world has been waiting. If your spirit aligns with this kind, currently in the comments section, that number is not just symbolic. It's a precious communication to heaven that you understand your duty as a living response. In a world filled with questions, it expresses to God that I am awake, aligned, and ready to be utilized as proof of your glory. Not everyone will complete this message. Only those who are genuinely called will experience clarity, spiritual insight, and a strong understanding of what they bear and why they have been selected to carry it. This is not content. It's a live revelation. Don't listen just once. Come back as frequently as your soul requires. For every time you hear it, a new truth emerges from inside. This is the type of word that develops with you. This is the type of word that exposes who you really are. The solution to the world's doubts that God still exists and works through individuals like you. Let's go deeper. Chapter 1. You survived what should have killed you. The chosen one. Let us begin with what most people overlook, your survival. You are not here today because everything went well. You're here because God kept you safe while everything was falling apart. What you went through was not insignificant. They were hefty. They were the kinds of situations that would break most individuals. You fought fights in private, sobbed behind closed doors, and went through seasons when no one realized how much you were carrying. Despite everything, you are still here. That is not normal. That's supernatural. You overcame heartbreak, which should have hardened you. You've survived treachery. This should have made you resentful. You overcame mental struggles that should have placed you in a position you couldn't recover from. You made it through seasons of loneliness and uncertainty not because you had all the answers, but because something greater than yourself refused to let you go. That something was God. He was the invisible force driving your calm perseverance. When you felt like you were breaking down, He was the one who kept your spirit together. People think that miracles are usually large, dramatic, and public. But surviving, particularly when no one knows how difficult it is one of the greatest miracles of all. You did not only pass through the flames. You came out refined, not scorched. And you didn't simply leave. You grew. You matured. You awoke. There were times when your mind seemed like it was unwinding. Moments when you wondered why you were even here. You prayed prayers that seemed to go unanswered. You watched others succeed while you remained unseen, unnoticed, and left behind. Even in the midst of the darkness, God was working on your innermost needs. He was designing routes. He was safeguarding your spirit. He was protecting your destiny. You did not lose your life. You were learning how to transport it in dark environments. You misplaced items, relationships, opportunity, and time. But you did not lose yourself. That is the part that puzzles folks. They noticed the blows you suffered. They were aware of the strain you were under. But they can't explain why you're still smiling. Why do you still adore? Why are you still dreaming? That is the proof. That is what makes your life a testament. When people question, where was God during those difficult times? They don't need a theological dispute. They should look at you. Your presence is the solution. Your survival is the sermon. Your life obviously demonstrates that God was present, since I am still alive. And now that you've survived what was supposed to kill you, you are about to step in what has always been promised to you. The storm did not halt your destiny. It made you ready for it. Chapter 2. Your ascendancy has no natural sense. The chosen one. Take a minute and reflect on your adventure. The road you've taken, the opposition you encountered, and where God has brought you. Nothing adds up in the natural. There are those with the education, money, social standing, and support system. Nonetheless, they have not advanced to the same level as you. They had a straightforward path. You had mountains. They received support. You've experienced attacks. But nevertheless, you keep climbing. Your name keeps popping up. Favre somehow manages to follow you into areas you weren't meant to access. This is when the world becomes confused since your ascension does not match their model. You did not come from a prominent family. You weren't born with opportunities. You did not have a platform, a spotlight, or a map. All you had was trust. All you had was obedience. You had a heavenly task that could not be explained, only completed. They underestimated you. They dismissed you. Some even attempted to block you. But God has already spoken over your life long before humans formed an opinion. Heaven chose you for promotion before anybody knew your name. That's why they couldn't stop you. They didn't know you didn't rely on them. God positioned you. This increase you're seeing right now is not the consequence of strategy or effort. It is the outcome of capitulation. When you submitted your will, God started to increase your influence. When you chose humility over boasting, God started to set a table for you in front of your opponents. Not because you consented, but because you were faithful. Not because you were flawless, but because you had been selected. And now people look at you and marvel how you're still standing, how you're still moving forward, despite all that was intended to hold you back. But they are asking the incorrect question. It is not how. It is who. It is not the technique. It is the source. And the wellspring is God. The world values rationality, but your existence disturbs it. They can't explain your success since it didn't follow normal pathways. It came via prayer. It passed through flames. It came via inner conflicts and quiet seasons. It occurred during the night, when no one could see you crying. But God saw your worship. And now the ones who counted you out are watching. God accepts you. You do not need to explain yourself. Your life speaks for you. You are living proof that when God places his hand on a person, no system, structure, or plan can prevent the result. Your ascension is a prophetic indication that purpose always prevails over status. Keep ascending, even if it puzzles them. Keep complying, even if they insult you, since your promotion is not only for you. It is for those who are observing and wondering whether God is still choosing individuals to bear his authority in our age. And the moment they see you, they'll know the answer is yes. Chapter 3. You carry a component that cannot be purchased. The chosen one. Let's speak about something uncommon, strong, and impossible to produce. Your peace. The item you carry is not surface level or situational. It does not change with the news cycle or according to who is around you. It goes deeper than that. It is grounded on something everlasting, whilst others are thrown about by fear, worry, and turmoil. There is something settled inside you. Something stable, something unshakable. You see, this item did not originate from money. It did not stem from accomplishment. It did not stem from validation, adulation, or societal acceptance. It comes from one location. Intimacy with God. It emerged from the forest. It came from the darkness. You had no one else but him. It came from tears. You sobbed while no one noticed. And the strength you felt in his presence when everything around you crumbled. People sought to figure out how you could keep showing up with grace and moving with tenderness despite betrayal. How can you proclaim life when death has been pronounced over you? They don't comprehend that your delight is not the outcome of easiness. It is the outcome of endurance. Your serenity did not stem from comfort. It emerged from the flames. You earned your tranquility in the midst of a storm. You noticed the silence while the noise was overwhelming. You find peace in situations where you should have been restless. You've praised while grieving. You were in need, and still you donated. You were abandoned, yet you still decided to love. That is not weakness. That is power. That is what makes you a menace in the spirit. Because the adversary hurled everything at you to shake your spirit. But you discovered your core in God. And once a soul is grounded in God, nothing outside can take its peace. This item renders you invincible in ways that the world cannot comprehend. You are not governed by headlines. You are not disturbed by rumor. You are not undone by delay. Because your origins are not in the things you see or the people you know. And whenever someone comes near to you, they notice something unusual. They experience an unusual sense of quietness, peace, and quiet strength. It is divine. That's when your life starts to speak for itself. Because peace is a testament. Peace is evidence. People question, why aren't you panicking like the rest of us? Your very presence responds. Because I know who walks with me. You do not need to defend your steadiness. It protects itself. You've been through too much to not understand where your assistance comes from. You have everything you need because you know him. Not even peace. Your tranquility is proof. It demonstrates that God is both real and present. And the next time someone looks at your serenity and wonders where it comes from, let them to go further. Because what they are really witnessing is the residue of God's presence in your life. And that type of tranquility cannot be purchased, imitated, or faked. It can only be delivered by the one who is inside you. Chapter 4. You forgave what had broken. You choose one. Your forgiveness is one of the most obvious indicators that God is alive and working through you. People do not understand what you had to let go of. Betrayal, deception, manipulation, and profound wounds. Not just once, but several times. There were folks who hurt you and never looked back. People who profoundly damaged you and pretended nothing happened. And yet, you decided to forgive. You opted to let go of something you had every right to hang on to. But this is the holy truth. You did not forgive because they deserved it. You forgave because you were distinguished. You forgave because harboring that resentment would have poisoned the purpose God gave you. You did not do it for them. You accomplished it in collaboration with God. You did it for your future. Because forgiveness is freedom. It's not a weakness. It is strength. It is not forgetting. It's about shedding the weight so you can step into what God wants for you. The world teaches vengeance. It states, make them pay, bear a grudge, cut them off permanently. But you were never meant to move in the same way that the world does. You are carrying something greater. You chose release over bitterness. And that type of decision does not stem from your body. It originates from the Spirit. It comes from walking so near to God that His kindness begins to run through your veins. You didn't just forgive those who apologized. You pardoned those who never confessed what they did. Those who blamed you. People who spread rumor about you. People who ignored your grief. You still let it go. Nonetheless, you chose peace over retribution. That is not typical. That is not natural. That is supernatural. That is the kind of force that confuses the opponent. Because he inflicted anguish on you, and you transformed it into purpose. You sobbed and yet shown compassion. You've been abandoned and yet remained soft. You've been broken and still stretched. Grace, and every time someone sees that softness in you, that tenderness after all that grief, they see God, whether they realize it or not. They are feeling a love that the world cannot teach. They're standing in front of someone who should be bitter, but is instead full of brightness. And when they wonder how it is possible, your life responds. This is what grace looks like. This is what God can achieve with a restored heart. This is what true freedom feels like. The chosen one. Your forgiveness is not just personal. It is prophetic. It demonstrates that God is continuously restoring, redeeming, and rewriting the tale. And the deeper you forgive, the higher He raises you. A pure heart is a magnet for heavenly advancement. And you are the one who forgave those who had broken you. You are going to be resurrected by the same God who healed you. Chapter 5. Your faith defied facts. You selected one. You've spent your whole life defying expectations. The world perceived your circumstances as limited. They saw numbers, difficulties, missing components, and reasons you would never succeed. However, they could not perceive the strength of faith that was living inside you. Faith that refused to accept what the facts indicated. There were instances when the facts were unmistakable. The supplies were few. The opportunities were non-existent. The doors were closed. The help was no longer available. The environment you were in did not promote development. And still you continued to develop. Not because everything was working in your favor, but because your soul refused to give up. There was something in you that believed in things you couldn't see. You believed in healing before experiencing it. You trusted in provision before receiving it. You trusted in a higher purpose even when your life seemed to be falling apart. That notion was not founded on imagination. It was based on your relationship to God. You were certain that what he predicted for your life would come true, regardless of how difficult it seems at the moment. So you walked by faith, not sight. Step by step, day by day, even when nothing made sense, you continued to move. Your prayers were not always audible, but they were constant. Your worship was not always public, but it was genuine. You kept true to your pledge. When the natural world told us it was too late, you kept turning up. You continued obeying. You remained trusting. You weren't sure how God would accomplish it, but you knew he would. That calm assurance, that steadfast faith, is what sets you distinct. People expected that your narrative would conclude where it began. They believed your background would determine your ceiling. But your trust in God ripped the roof off your life. It provided a place for miracles to occur. It opened the doors. You did not knock on it. Your name was placed in locations where your feet had not yet reached. Not because of who you knew, but because of who you believed. The facts say you shouldn't be here. According to the facts, you should have lost your mind, given up, or quietly faded away. However, your faith overpowered the evidence. Your faith has a greater impact than fear. It stood higher than the barriers. And now your life is proof, living evidence that God reacts to belief. There are people watching you right now who don't comprehend how you got here. They notice the fruit, but are unaware of the conflict. They notice the radiance, but they're unfamiliar with the grind. They don't comprehend that every stride you made was a step on water, relying on God to support you when there was nothing solid underneath you. You got where you are now by believing even when it didn't make sense. You did not wait for the ideal moment. You moved when God said so. And now those who question you will be forced to admit that you were guided by something bigger all along. The chosen one. Your life isn't reasonable. It is spiritual. It's not a case of luck. It's a narrative about faith. And your faith did not just carry you. It qualified you. It found a path through the impossible. It erected a bridge across the shattered areas. It made room for destiny to emerge. Let the world attempt to understand it. Let them attempt to justify it. They never will. Because your life breaks the rules. They believe in your life, which demonstrates that facts might create the issue. But trust unlocks the promise. Chapter 6. You evolved while being true to yourself. The chosen one. Let's take a minute to recognize something most people will never comprehend. It takes heavenly power to go through what you did without becoming someone you weren't supposed to be. Life attempted to transform you, but it did not succeed. Pain attempted to harden you. Betrayal. I tried to make you chilly. Loneliness. I tried to make you better. Success. Attempted to boost your ego. Nonetheless, you stayed faithful. Not perfect, but correct. Not unspoiled, yet unwavering in your individuality. You grew, but not separate from your soul. You changed, but you never gave up your spark. So many people lose themselves in the course of surviving. They survive the storm, but they don't look like themselves. They exchange authenticity for acceptance. They allowed pride to flourish in the place of purity. But you selected the narrow route. You rejected resentment and chose to improve. You did not let grief alter your personality. You allowed God to change your narrative. And he did not take away your identity. He polished it. There's something holy about the way you held your heart together through so many dark nights. You were tested silently. You were stretched in private. You were changed yet did not lose your identity. Your laughter did not die. Your tenderness did not disappear. Your sympathy has only become greater. You became more discerning, but not distant. You grew more cautious, but not closed off. That's unusual. That is sacred. That is the fingerprint of God. People cannot figure things out. When they look at your travels, they expect to see someone guarded and furious. Instead, they discover someone who is grounded, modest, and filled with purpose. You should be cooler, yet you are warm. You should be rougher, but you are gentler. And this is not a weakness. It is evidence. It demonstrates that God's Spirit resides inside you, because only He can guide someone through deep waters while yet preserving their spirit. And let us be honest. You had every cause to be resentful. You had every cause to shut your heart and not open it again. However, instead of creating walls, you created wells. Instead of pushing them away, you choose to heal, forgive, and grow with grace. You completed the internal work. Nobody commended you for staying up late to pray, weep out, and commit your emotions to God. You wanted Him to wash you, not simply console you, to purify, not only calm. That is why your metamorphosis is so profound. It is not based on hype. It's based on holiness. It is not for show. It's for a reason. You were not simply restored to function. You were polished, to lead, to guide, to show what actual healing looks like. People see your shine, but they don't always understand the cost. They sense your tranquility. However, they did not witness the procedure. That is all right, because God saw everything. Heaven honors this reality throughout everything. You never lost the essence of who He made you to be selected. 1. Your tale is a precious unfoldment. The adversary believed he could break you by attempting to destroy your identity, but all he did was drive you deeper into who you are. And now you're walking in a version of yourself that isn't only healed. It is sacred. You're not defined by your suffering anymore. You are characterized by the one who pulled you through it. And because you kept genuine, you did not allow the world to pervert your spirit. God is preparing to entrust you with much more. Increased influence, effect, and open doors. Because He can trust someone who matures without forgetting where they came from. Someone who achieves success while maintaining their integrity. Someone who changes yet never loses sight of their essence. You altered but did not lose. You rose. You still mirror Him. This is your power. That's your evidence. Chapter 7. You are a living, breathing testament. The chosen one. Whether you know it or not, your very being is a revelation. A prophetic reminder to a skeptical world that God is more than just real. He is present. People look for signs, seek evidence, fight over texts, and doubt miracles. But what they don't often realize is that the most striking witness does not necessarily come from a pulpit or a holy scripture. It may sometimes be discovered in people. Sometimes it's inside you. You are the live response to a question. The world is always questioning, is God real? And the answer is yes. Look at me. Take a peek at the person who was neglected, yet still picked. Look at the one who was deceived, yet still loves. Look at the one who was broken, yet was still rebuilt. Stronger, smarter, and purer. Take a look at the person who created it out of parts. Others did not survive. Look at the person who carries the weight of grief, disappointment, and delay while walking in grace. Your life is preaching without a microphone. Your energy moves through rooms before you speak a word. Your scars tell volumes. Your silence has power and ensures your survival. That in itself is a testament. Not everyone understands the specifics of what you've been through, but they can feel the proof when they're around you. There is something about your presence that brings serenity, light, and authority. It is not pride. It is not ego. It is the remnants of paradise on someone who has been touched by God. When some questioned if you'd rise again, when they murmured that it was over, God was crafting a new chapter. He didn't just restore you. He presented you as proof. And now, every time you laugh, show up, or live fearlessly in your mission, you are declaring that God is real. Not because you are flawless, but because you are still alive, still entire, still packing light. When life attempted to wipe it out, you are not just cured. You provide healing to others. You aren't merely picked. You are the confirmation. You are not just favored. You are the fruit of trust. The world teaches performance and appearance. But you have something that cannot be contrived. You walk with honesty, weight, and witness. People notice a difference when you enter a room because you bring splendor that was born through pain and honed in solitude. Don't ever minimize that. Never be afraid to stand up for yourself. You keep showing up and choosing love. You still grin with genuineness. That is not usual. That is not something the world taught you. That's what God developed in you. And now your narrative is heard even when your mouth is silent. You are the tale that cannot be erased. You are the prayer that God answered. You're the unexpected miracle. You are the light. The darkness couldn't be put out. Next time someone asks for a cause to believe, just be. Simply stand tall. Simply show up. Because your life is a preaching. You are the physical embodiment of the message. A live, breathing example of what grace may do. That is why the adversary fears you. That is why people are attracted to you. That is why the atmosphere changes when you talk. You don't need to prove anything. You already are the evidence. So, walk like the evidence. Talk like the evidence. Live like the evidence. Because the facts are irrefutable. God is real, and you are the evidence.